In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can install and set up a Windows 11 virtual machine on your Mac. Before we get started, I do want to note that this will only work on Apple Silicon Macs, so if you have an Intel Mac, this will not work. The first thing we need to do is to download the virtual machine. The one we are using today is UTM, and you get it with the link in the description. If we scroll down, it will tell you more information about it, so we can virtualize Windows and Linux, and we can also emulate classic operating systems as well. And we can also virtualize macOS as well. However, we want to virtualize Windows 11, so we're going to select download, and then we're going to save the installer to our Mac, so I'm going to save it to my desktop. If you are wondering what the difference is between the regular download and the Mac App Store version, well, there is virtually no difference, except you have to pay for the App Store version, which is a way of supporting the developers. You'll also receive automatic updates as well. So now we've downloaded UTM, which needs to go ahead and install it, so we're going to double click on the DMG file, and then all we need to do is to drag and drop the UTM application inside of the applications folder, and after a couple of seconds you should hear the install noise. Now we can exit out of the drag and drop file, and we can also delete the installer from our desktop if you'd wish to do so. Just remember to also eject it from your Finder as well. So now we've installed the virtual machine, we just need to go ahead and open it up for the first time. And because it's our first time, you'll see this pop up, so you want to select open. And when it pops up for the first time, you'll see this welcome screen. Now we need to go ahead and create our first virtual machine. So to do this, we're going to select create a new virtual machine, and then you want to select virtualize, and then you want to select which operating system you want to use. So for the example of this video, we are going to select Windows, and now you want to go ahead and choose how much resources you want to dedicate to the virtual machine. So you can either leave it on the default settings like this, or you can go ahead and change them to your liking. If you want to find out the hardware information of your Mac, you want to go ahead and open up System Information, and then you want to make sure you're in the Hardware tab, and here it will tell you how much memory you have, so I have 16 GB, and it will also tell you the amount of CPU cores you have, and I have 8. So now we've done this, we can exit out of System Information, and we can choose how much hardware resources we want to apply. So for the example of this video, I'm going to apply 8 GB of memory, and I'm going to keep the CPU cores on default. So once we've done this, we're going to select continue. From here, we need to import the ISO file so we can install Windows to the virtual machine itself. So to do this, we're going to open our web browser, and you want to go to the Windows 11 download page, and I'll leave this link in the description below. From here, we're going to scroll down, and you want to select the Windows 11, and you want to make sure it says ARM64, as we are using Apple Silicon Mac, and then you want to select download now. Once it's validated, you want to select the drop down menu again and select your language. So because I'm from the UK, I'm going to select English International, and then we're going to select confirm. Once we've done this, we're going to select download now, and then you want to download the ISO image to your Mac, so again I'm going to save it to my desktop. Now we've done this, we can exit out of our web browser and go back to UTM, and we just need to import the ISO file that we have just downloaded. However, it's going to take a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on your internet connection. So now the ISO file has been downloaded, we can select it and select open, and as you can see, we have imported it into UTM. Now we've done this, you want to make sure install Windows 10 or higher has been selected, and you also want to make sure install drives and spice tools has also been selected. Now we will go and select continue. Here you want to choose how much space you want to allocate for the virtual machine. By default it's going to be on 64 GB, however you can change this to how much you would like. For the example of this video, I'm going to leave it on 64 GB. Now you can optionally choose if you want to create a shared directory path. A shared directory path is a file path that links a folder to your main computer to the virtual machine. However, we don't need to do this in this example, so we are going to select continue. Now you are taken to the summary screen, so you want to review your settings, and you can also change the name of the virtual machine at top, so I'm going to call this Windows 11 tutorial. And once we are ready, we are going to select save. Now the virtual machine is going to do some things in the background. Now the virtual machine has finished setting up, we just need to boot into it so we can continue the process of installing Windows 11. However, before we do this, I do want to note, and this is important, that when you get to a screen that tells you to press any key to boot into a CD or DVD, you do press a key to activate that process, and that screen is only going to appear momentarily, so you do have to be quick. With that being said, let's continue and let's open the virtual machine. As you can see, the virtual machine has booted up, and here it says press any key, so we're going to do that now. and then it's going to boot into the Windows 11 installer. So now we are inside the Windows 11 installer, we just need to go ahead and continue with the setup process. So from here you want to select your install language and time and currency format. So we're going to select next, and here it's going to ask for a keyboard or input method. So again I'm going to select United Kingdom, and then I'm going to select next. Now you'll be prompted to enter an activation key. However, if you don't have one, you can pick one up cheap from g2a.com, and I'll leave this linked in the description below. However, I don't have one right now, so I'm going to select I don't have a product key, and from here you want to choose which Windows version you want to install. So for the example of this video, I'm going to choose Windows 11 Pro, and then I'm going to select next. Now it's going to take you to the end user license agreement, so you want to read through this, and once you've done that, you want to select accept. Now it's going to list all of the storage that you have allocated to the virtual machine, and I have only allocated 64GB, which is what I did earlier. If you want to create partitions, you can do that from here. However, if you just want to install everything on one drive, you want to make sure it's highlighted and select next. Now it's going to begin the process of installing Windows 11, and this can take quite a few minutes, so you want to sit back and relax, and the virtual machine may reinstall a couple of times. It's important to bear in mind that when the Windows 11 installation restarts, we no longer need to press any key to boot into a CD or DVD drive. So as you can see, Windows 11 has finished installing, and now we just need to run through the setup process. First of all, we're going to begin by setting our country, so mine is United Kingdom, and I'm going to select yes. And then you need to go ahead and choose the keyboard input method yet again, so again mine's United Kingdom. And then you can go ahead and add a secondary keyboard layout if you'd wish to do so. However, I'm going to skip this. Now it's going to ask you for your name, so I'm going to type in my first name and select continue. And then it's going to prompt you to enter in a password, and this is for your user account to log into Windows 11 with. And now we just need to set up 3 security questions, so I'm going to do that now. Now we just need to wait a few minutes for Windows to finish setting up. And as you can see, we have booted straight into the desktop, and we can start using Windows 11 just as we normally would. However, because we are running Windows 11 inside of a virtual machine, we need to install the Spice tools that we had selected earlier during the installation process. So to do this, we're going to open our File Explorer, and then you want to navigate to this PC in the left hand side menu, and then you want to open the UTM Guest Tools. Now you want to find the UTM Guest Tools application and open it up, and then we just want to run through the setup process. So we're going to select next, and then we're going to read through this and select I agree, and then it's going to install the UTM Guest Tools. During the installation process, you may notice the resolution will change, and this is normal. Now the Guest Tools have been installed, we want to select finish, and then we can exit out of the File Explorer. Now to make sure everything is functioning correctly, we simply want to restart Windows, and it's important you do this within the virtual machine. Now we've rebooted Windows, we want to go ahead and log in. And now we just want to eject the virtual bootable drives from Windows. So to do this, we're going to select the little up arrow on the taskbar, and here we're going to right click on the USB icon, and then we're going to eject the UTM Guest Tools, and we're also going to eject the installer, which is this one. Now we've done this, we also need to eject them from the virtual machine settings themselves. So to do this, we're just going to close out of the virtual machine and go back to UTM. Now you want to make sure you're on the Windows 11, and you want to scroll all the way down to the 2 drives at the bottom. You simply want to click on the drop down menu and select clear on both of these options. Now we've ejected them, we can go back to the virtual machine, and now we can officially start using Windows 11 just as we normally would. If you want to increase text clarity inside of the virtual machine, then you need to enable Retina mode. To do this, you want to open the virtual machine settings. In the left hand side menu, you want to navigate to display, and then you want to make sure Retina mode has been selected. Now you want to select save, and the next time you boot up the virtual machine, the display quality is going to be so much more clear, as it's going to be using the Retina display settings of your Mac. Just bear in mind that when you enable Retina mode, your display resolution is going to increase, so that means you need to increase the scaling with it. So again, we're going to go back to our Windows icon and go back to the settings application. And inside settings, we're going to select system on the left hand side menu. And then you want to select display. And here where it says scaling, we're going to bump this up to 200%. Now you notice everything looks way more sharper, and you can use the virtual machine in a full screen mode. and it's going to be as if you're using a native Windows 11 experience on your Mac. So now we've done this, we can go ahead and start using Windows 11 just as we normally would. And that's it. So if this video is helpful, please leave a like, and if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below.